we live in a rainbow of chaos. The human mind craves order, neat lines, categories, and boxes where everything can be named, tamed, and understood. From the moment we awaken into consciousness, we are taught to chase clarity, to search for meaning in patterns, and to believe that sense-making is salvation. But life, in its rawest form, resists being tamed. It erupts in contradictions. It blooms where logic fails. It dances in a spectrum that cannot be fully seen or explained. A rainbow not of serenity, but of chaos. This chaos is not random. It is not the mess of a broken system. It is the pulse of life itself. The very force that we try so hard to capture in words and rules is the same force that constantly slips through our fingers, laughing at our need to understand. We name the stars, but we cannot touch them. We build maps of the world, but the terrain always surprises us. The mind seeks certainty, yet the soul longs for what cannot be pinned down. And so the tension grows between what is and what we wish it to be, between the flowing river and the concrete canal, between the wild forest and the trimmed garden. We feel this dissonance every day. When things fall apart, when people defy expectations, when our plans crumble like paper in the rain, we call it chaos. But is it? Or is it simply the refusal of life to be caged? We suffer not because life is chaotic, but because we resist its rhythm. We try to silence the unpredictable, to smooth out the edges, to pretend we are in control. But true awareness begins the moment we stop fighting. When we start to see not with the mind, but with presence. When we no longer demand that the world fit our narratives, but allow it to unfold as it is. Reality, then, is not a fixed structure. It is not something we arrive at through logic or mastery. It is something we surrender to, something we fall into. Like a wave, it carries us, not toward certainty, but toward depth, toward the mystery that lies behind appearances. And in that mystery, we do not find answers, we find beauty. A beauty that shimmers precisely because it escapes all labels. A beauty that does not need to be understood to be felt. To live in a rainbow of chaos is not to live in disorder. It is to live in awe. To live in a reverence of what we do not and perhaps cannot fully comprehend. It is to trust the dance of colors even when they blur. It is to realize that clarity is not the goal. Presence is. We are not here to master life. We are here to meet it, raw, trembling, unfiltered. To witness its play of light and shadow, to be undone, remade, and undone again. This is the sacred disarray of existence. This is where truth breathes. And so we return, again and again, not to build a prison of meaning, but to open a window into the wild, to see with new eyes, to feel with open hearts, to stand not above the chaos, but inside it, alive, unsure, and radiant. This is not confusion. This is creation. This is not failure. This is freedom. This is not disorder. This is divine.
We grow up believing that the world must make sense, that truth is linear, that meaning follows a straight road from cause to effect, from question to answer. But life is not a classroom. It is a wilderness. In this wilderness, logic can only go so far. It builds fences, but the wind still passes through. It names the trees, but cannot explain the forest. And in its search for clarity, it often forgets to feel. The soul, however, is not so easily satisfied. It is not moved by definitions. It is not tamed by doctrines. It longs for something deeper, not answers, but presence, not categories, but color, not control, but surrender. We were taught to fear chaos, to associate it with danger, failure, collapse. But what if chaos is not the enemy? What if it is the breath of creation, the fertile ground where all form begins to rise? The rainbow, after all, is born from contradiction. Sunlight and storm, water and light, chaos and clarity dancing as one. Order is comfortable, yes, but comfort is not growth. And while order can offer stability, it can also become a prison, a structure so rigid that it forgets how to bend, how to play, how to listen. The universe doesn't ask for our control. It invites our participation, not as architects, but as dancers, not to impose our patterns on the world, but to move with the rhythm already there. This is the great challenge of awakening, to loosen the grip of the mind and allow the heart to see, to feel the wild music behind appearances and let it guide us, not toward mastery, but toward intimacy with mystery. The mind wants maps. The soul wants experience. And sometimes the most honest way to meet the world is to admit that we do not understand it. Because there is a sacredness in not knowing, a kind of purity in letting go of frameworks and standing still as the colors move through us. To feel the blues of sorrow, the reds of passion, the greens of renewal, without labeling, without resisting. The rainbow of chaos is not meant to be deciphered. It is meant to be lived, felt, breathed, trusted. When we stop trying to fix life into a tidy narrative, we begin to see that the mess is not a flaw. It is the texture of beauty itself, the thread that binds us to everything. And in that surrender, we don't lose ourselves. We finally come home.
There is a kind of wisdom that doesn't come from books, a knowing that doesn't speak in words, but in sensations, in silences, in shivers, in sudden tears that rise without explanation. It is the wisdom of the body, the intuition of the soul, the quiet whisper that says, even if it doesn't make sense, stay. Stay in the storm. Stay in the contradiction. Stay in the dance of opposites. Because within that chaos, there is something alive, something real. The danger of always seeking order is that we may flatten the world into something manageable but lifeless, predictable but void of magic. There is beauty that will never be understood,
moments that will never be repeated, connections that defy logic but awaken something ancient within us. To live fully is not to decode the chaos, it is to make peace with it, to walk through the ever-shifting landscape of emotion, uncertainty, and wonder with the humility of a traveler, not a conqueror. We are not here to master life. We are here to meet it as it is, raw, vivid, mercurial. Yes, it will hurt. Yes, it will confuse. Yes, there will be days of silence, of shadows, of shapeless longing. But even then, especially then, we are alive. And that is not a small thing. That is the miracle we miss when we try to control it all. The miracle that breathes not in the straight lines, but in the curves, in the cracks, in the unpredictable blooms that grow from unexpected soil. To embrace the rainbow of chaos is to allow ourselves to be colored by life, stained with experience, washed with feelings, touched by moments that don't need meaning to be sacred. The mind may resist. It will try to organize the rain, measure the thunder, label every cloud. But the heart knows better. It beats to the rhythm of the storm, not despite it, but because of it. So let the mind rest, let the questions breathe, let the chaos come. It is not the end of harmony, it is its beginning. A deeper harmony, one not born of control, but of surrender. A life not defined by clarity, but illuminated by color. And then that chaos, we remember. We were never meant to be perfect. We were meant to be whole.